Chapter 7. As they stepped out into the wind, one of the Silurian scientists cried out in pain and stumbled. The doctor dragged him back to his feet. It was bitter, and the storm was whipping the snow into swirling, biting clouds. The tall spire of the drill-head building was a faint shape through the blizzard. It was probably no more than a few 100 meters away, but the cold-blooded Silurians were already starting to struggle in the severe conditions. Partok half-dragged, half-carried her father forward. The doctor urged the others on. From behind them, there was the grinding of metal and plastic as the Merca tore itself free from the base. With a final shattering roar, it vanished into the storm. Soon, there was only the sound of blaring alarms and terrified voices. The doctor just hoped that Lizzie had been taken somewhere well out of harm's way. Her actions had made him angry and sad at the same time. Angry that he had been so sure she was who she claimed, and sad that she had felt that she had to go down such an extreme path. He had seen in her eyes how torn she had been. Would she really have blown them all sky high? In his heart, he didn't think so. He hoped that he would get a chance to ask her. As they arrived at the drill-head building, the scientists were shaking with cold. One of them, the eldest, was almost in a coma. Even Partok, in her heavy furs, was starting to get slow and sluggish. She fumbled with the locked door, her fingers numb with cold. "Here, let me help." The doctor drew her gently to one side, slipping the sonic screwdriver from his jacket pocket. He pressed the nozzle of the screwdriver to the door. A familiar whine and a blaze of green light filled the air. The door opened, and a blast of warmth wafted out. The doctor and Partok dragged the Silurians inside the building. The doctor closed the door and hurried over to a heating control on the wall. He twisted it to full. There was a whine of distant motors, and warm air started to flood into the room. Okla gave a hiss of pleasure as his body temperature started to rise once more. "Thank you, Doctor. We would not have survived much longer." "No, the Antarctic really isn't a good place for Silurians to be." He glanced over at Partok. "You've been lucky to survive." "Lucky?" Partok scoffed. "There has been nothing lucky about it." "What happened?" asked the doctor gently. "What happened after Pelham left you out on the ice?" Partok was silent for a moment, then took a deep breath. "I lay in the snow, watching as Pelham took my father and the others back to the base. He assumed that the cold would kill me, and it nearly did. I almost died right there. But then I looked at what you apes have done to my world. A world made cold and damp and dark. In the end, it was hatred that kept me alive. Hatred of humanity." The room had gone quiet, everyone listening to Partok's story. "I forced myself to stand, to follow the tracks left by Pelham's machines. At last, I stumbled across a series of primitive wooden structures, nothing more than shacks." "An abandoned whaling station," murmured the doctor to himself. Partok ignored him. "Inside were clothes, stinking rotten furs that kept out the cold. I found crude bladed weapons and hunted the mammals that swim beneath the ice. I forced myself to eat their flesh. Slowly, I regained my strength." Okla reached out to lay a hand on his daughter's shoulder, but Partok brushed it aside. "Wrapping myself in the furs, I made it back to the base. I needed somewhere warm to hide where I could plan my revenge." "The power room?" said the doctor. Partok nodded. "Pelham's guards are even more stupid than the rest of the apes. Hiding from them was easy. I learned how to tamper with the controls. I could plunge the base into darkness whenever I wished. The humans do not deal well with the dark. Perhaps a part of them remembers how we used to hunt them in the forests of the old world. It was easy for me to use the shadows to find what I needed, to make my way back down to our base beneath the ice. Ockler shook his head. But how did you find out about the Merca herds, the military? Those files were secret, known only to me and a handful of others. You are too trusting, Father. It was easy to break into your secret files and learn the true nature of our facility. I revived the Mercas to attack the humans. You've gone too far, daughter. Ockler's voice was shaking with anger. You will only make the situation with the humans worse. The Mercas will provide the means to bring the humans to their knees. We can wipe out the rest of these primitives with ease. No, I will not allow it. The doctor hurried over to the lift. I think we should get down there pronto. We don't want a herd of grumpy Mercas stamping about the place. If they've been unfrozen, it should be easy enough to refreeze them. The lift door slid open, and the doctor stepped back in shock. Standing in the doorway was a giant figure, its sleek form clad in combat gear. Black eyes glinted wickedly from beneath a fierce-looking helmet as the figure raised a disc-like gun. It was a sea devil.